This took place when I was a teenager, about 14 or 15, I don't remember. To start off, you should know that I was an athlete at the time, so waking up early at 4 in the morning to go run at my local park was a daily habit. On this specific Friday, I went at 4 in the morning to get my daily run in. This morning was very strange. Usually you hear some cars out, you see some people walking to the bus stop, walking their dogs, or maybe even crickets and birds chirping. But on this specific morning, it was none of that. Dead silent. Almost like that movie 28 Days Later when the guy wakes up and there's nobody alive. Kind of that vibe, just to give you an idea. So right from the jump, the day's vibe felt sketchy. Anyway, my park is only a block away, so I walk it there. When I got to the park, I put my stuff down in the bushes like I always do, started stretching, and began my run. It wasn't a big park, nor was it small. Maybe about the size of a good-sized shopping mall. Call me crazy, but I ran 28 laps every day, so it took me about an hour and 30 minutes to finish my run. On the 27th lap, I was making a turn at the corner of the park, and then I saw this weird-looking woman, very pale and emaciated, with a dull look on her face, almost as if she had been on some drugs. She was wearing an old beat-up dress, barefoot and holding onto a bag. She gave me this dull, empty stare, so I continued running and put it all behind me, literally. On my last lap, I always ended by the playground, next to an indoor basketball gym and water fountains. Next to the playground, there were 2 sets of benches. As I was walking over to take a seat, there she was, that same creepy woman sitting there with her bag. This time she had her legs crossed on the bench and she was rocking back and forth, doing this weird, chanting or incantations of some sort. Now, I'm not the type to run away from my fears, so despite my better instincts, I went and sat down next to the bench anyway. She continued her incantations while looking at me the whole time. I wanted to break the nervous awkwardness, so I asked, "Excuse me, do you know what time it is?" My question seemed to have triggered some sort of reaction as she stopped. She stared at me in the eyes for 30 long, awkward, creepy seconds, and right before I was about to run, she got up and walked away. Walked away behind the indoor basketball gym. My fears all of a sudden turned into curiosity. I counted 10 seconds and then I followed her to see where she had went. Here's the crazy part. When I went to go see where she was at, she was already on the other side of the soccer field. Mind you, this soccer field was huge. It's physically impossible for any human being to run across that field in just 7 to 10 seconds. I was more shocked than scared. I walked back to the bush and grabbed my stuff and left. Okay, so this is where the story really begins. Saturday mornings, I would typically go hang out with my friend named Victor, who lived on the first floor of our apartment building. I took Victor to the park and showed him everything that had happened to me the morning prior. He was a bit of a daredevil, so he thought it was pretty cool. And in a weird way, so did I. We went to the benches and I reenacted the whole scene so he understood. When I saw the benches, I realized that she had left the bag there. Victor wasted no time and immediately grabbed it and opened it. And to our surprise, it was just a bunch of random stuff. Sticks, rocks, meds, tampons, and 2 small books. This suddenly didn't feel like such a good idea anymore. "Leave it alone, man. Let's get out of here," I said. He took the books in his pocket without me knowing and we went home. We went to his house. We sat on the table and he took the books out and slammed them on the table. "Dude, what the fuck?" I said. I knew from the depths of my intuition that something very bad was about to happen. "Get rid of that shit," I screamed. "Why? I want to see what's in it," he said. It was just a bunch of random writing, some dark drawings, and what I assumed to be referencing to some satanic rituals. And the rest was just some random diary stuff, I think. Moments later, he randomly got up and began fucking suffocating, or gasping for air as if he was choking on something. "Victor, what's wrong?" I said. He wasn't responding. Thank God he started coughing and breathing again. Like the meme says, it was at that moment we realized that we fucked up. So we decided to take the books back to the park, but the bag was gone. We snuck them back under the benches and ran back home. It was definitely a scary encounter and we didn't know what to do. Lucky for us, nothing else had happened. At least not that month. The following month, things got worse. So we basically knew that it had something to do with voodoo or witchcraft, I guess. I don't know what it really was. But a series of events, strange events, started happening to us both. They follow an order in which they occurred. Victor started having dreams every night, and it was always the same dream that would wake him up at 3 in the morning with fear and anxiety. Basically, the dream was there was nothing but a massive explosion, fire everywhere. At a far distance, this girl was running towards him, screaming and crying with her face melting off of her skull. This same dream slowly but surely began to ruin his life. He stopped hanging out with me or anyone else. He stopped going outside of his house altogether. He lost quite a bit of weight and in the process lost himself. He wasn't the same. He suddenly became this walking, talking mass of bad luck. I remember within a span of 2 months, his dog randomly dies. His parents get divorced. His mom got in a very bad car accident. She also got laid off of work. He kept losing more and more weight, and to make matters worse, he was getting beat up at school all the time. Eventually, the school district came to his house to investigate his sudden physical changes and even offered him psychiatric help. It was around that time he began calling me again to start coming to his house. I saw the terrible shape he was in. "Victor, dude, what the fuck? What happened to you?" He told me a story that to this day still disturbs me. Basically, after these nightly dreams, a disembodied voice would appear externally and began threatening him. Threatening him not to eat, talk to nobody, and go outside. The threats were always different. It was either "I'll kill your mom" or "I'll kill you," etc. I was a little skeptical if he was telling the truth or not, but looking at his current conditions, he would never in his right mind allow himself to get that way. I told him that I would pray for him, and he urged me not to leave him. Had I known that that would have been the last time I saw him, I would not have left him. A few days later, I get a knock on my door with devastating news that Victor has taken his own life. The terrible reality was sinking in. Am I next? What should I do? I feared I was getting into major trouble. I kind of felt guilty for the death of Victor, but at the same time I couldn't linger on it much longer because I now had to think about my own safety and well-being. That night I went to bed. I had the exact same dream as Victor did. Only this time, it was Victor burning in the fire. I made a decision that I would go to church with my parents every Sunday. I even decided to confess to our pastor what had happened and had told him everything. He told me to keep coming every Sunday. He even blessed me with holy water and gave me his phone number to call him if anything happens. The following night, I was home alone. I was trying to get some sleep. It was around 1 a.m. I was half asleep when suddenly deja vu hit and I began gasping for air. I couldn't breathe. Something was choking me, but there was nothing there. Then suddenly I remember my pastor telling me that when something went wrong to say, "I plead the blood of Jesus." I was repeating this in my mind. The more I began to say it, the less pressure I felt on my neck. It was working. Almost instantly, I saw out of nowhere a black mass of energy, screaming, coming at me at 100 miles an hour and literally went through my body. When I was able to breathe again, I screamed it one more time as loud as I could. I didn't feel safe sleeping alone that night, so I had asked my neighbor, who happened to be another good friend of mine, if I can stay the night. The following week, I was sitting on the bus going home from school. Some random woman decided to sit near me on the bus, and she kept looking at me on and off, almost as if to say she was picking up this vibe off of me. She finally told me, "You need to get some help. Something's attacking you. I have a friend who can help." I knew she knew, so I gave her my trust despite not knowing her. We exchanged contacts and I met with her friend and 2 others the following weekend that had confirmed the same exact thing. Whatever this attachment, entity, or curse was starting to wear me down. As she noticed or sensed something within me or around me, she began to perform this cleansing ritual on me, and the last thing I remember is seeing flashes of lights, a headache, and I was out. According to witnesses, I began convulsing and dragging my own body on the floor for 45 minutes during this ritual. However, I have no recollection of anything. When I regained consciousness, everyone was around me, hugging me and nurturing me. For once in almost a year, I felt like myself again, and life seemed normal, or at least it felt that way. They also confirmed that I was under the attack of an evil entity. I told them the whole story of how and what happened, and it all made sense to them. They recommend I stay in close contact with them, and they are now some of my really close friends. Here's an update 10 years later. I've only had that same dream twice ever since, and nothing bad has ever happened to me.